was approaching my expiration date. I was nearly 13, and my mom asked me if there was anything in particular I wanted for Christmas. I asked for hairspray. Now, this was an unusual request for a number of reasons, but it was symptomatic of an identity crisis. My mom replied, "I can just run to the store and pick you some up, no problem." But I insisted. It was worthy of a line item on my Christmas list. In my mind, this bottle of White Rain hairspray might just solve a problem I was having. I didn't know who I was anymore. I was desperately hoping that this magical styling product would help transform me from tomboy to girl. I had always been a tomboy. I loved baseball and fishing and soccer and Star Wars. I refused to wear dresses, and I felt strong and confident and free. But then the whispers of social pressure started eroding that confidence. The 7th graders were shaving their legs. I heard that on the bus. At the lunch table, girls would talk about fashion and makeup, and I'd be pretending to be busy with my homework. But I also felt nauseous, wondering if blue eyeshadow would look good on me. My cheeks turned red when I was asked if I could French braid my hair. I could not. Now, I could recite the Chicago Cubs starting lineup, throw a curveball, and forge anyone's signature. But that didn't seem to impress anyone. So one evening in my bedroom, I carefully took down the ball caps and the baseball pennants that were tacked into the wall, and I replaced them with posters of teenage boys from Teen Beat magazine. I had asked for a subscription as a stocking stuffer. I felt sad. Being a tomboy had given me a certain strength, and I felt that strength expiring. Now fast forward 15 years, and I'm working on a PhD in communication and culture. As part of my dissertation research, I was researching tomboy narratives, in part because I just couldn't get over that feeling of loss. It turns out I'm not the only tomboy who experienced a sense of identity loss. For centuries, tomboys have illuminated the gender lessons circulating in our culture. I bet you didn't know that the term tomboy first referred to boys. The term described a rude, boisterous boy who drank too much and socialized with wenches. Like tomfoolery and tomcat, it was a negative term. In the 1600s, the term shifted to characterize an adult woman, one who violated the polite norms of femininity. She was crude, rude, immodest. Like the word bitch operates today, it was used to stigmatize women who didn't know their place. When the term shifted to characterize a youthful female, it was an insult used to describe a wild and untamed girl. So it's only been a few decades that tomboy has enjoyed a positive connotation. Today we think about a tomboy as a young girl who enjoys the activities we associate with boyhood. She's sporty, doesn't mind getting dirty, and resists the girly girl. And importantly, in today's society, she is celebrated. Have you noticed how brands love tomboys these days? Tomboy is the new black. These dramatic shifts in meaning tell us a lot about gender norms in our culture. So first, tomboys were bad boys, and then they were bad girls. But tomboys have always been gender rebels. Think about it. Before we're even born, our gendered lives are being scripted for us. Excited parents-to-be plan elaborate gender reveals. If it's a boy, we know to paint the room blue and buy trucks and footballs. And if it's a girl, be very, very prepared for pink. I battle this pink plague every day. I have a 2.5-year-old daughter named Rory, and we made a conscious decision to not dress her in pink, or tape a bow to her hairless head, or pierce her ears. So of course, she was mistaken for a boy without those girly signifiers. Now that didn't bother me, But why are people so obsessed with broadcasting boy or girl from conception? These labels, they provide shortcuts. We think they tell us how to interact with a child, but these labels don't merely describe a kid, they prescribe a lifetime of behaviors that limit who they can be. Little girls are praised for princess dresses and signed up for dance class, and little boys are told not to cry and that dolls are for girls. But the tomboy, she represents this temporary moment where rebelling against gender norms is accepted, even encouraged. It's not the same for boys that want to be feminine. We may have learned to embrace tomboys, but sissies are a different story. In our gender logic, it makes sense why a young girl would want to experience boyhood. It's a status upgrade. But if a young boy wants to act like a girl, it doesn't make sense. It's a demotion. Who would give up the privileges of masculinity? So how did the tomboy become celebrated? In part, when Title IX passed in 1972, it opened the world of sports to an entire generation of girls. And as more girls participated in sport, the more it was normalized, and we saw it reflected in popular culture. There was an explosion of imagery about tomboy girls. Sporty girls became mainstream. And tomboy became a symbol of empowerment and progress, which always makes me wonder, why is it that we love tomboys, but still find feminists scary? And then it made sense. The tomboy expires. In our culture, tomboy identity is supposed to be just a phase. When I was doing my research, I read a lot of novels about tomboy characters. And I found the same pattern that feminist scholars have found plaguing girlhood literature for centuries. From Jo March in Little Women to Katniss in The Hunger Games, rebellious girls grow out of it and take their domesticated place. That's the lesson in nearly every story about tomboys. Take a look at some of these covers. Tomboy turned princess. This sums up a major theme. Or, less subtle, the Lizard Flanagan series. Now, Lizard is the nickname for Elizabeth. All tomboys have nicknames, by the way, like Lizard or Joe or Frankie. In 7th grade, Lizard is on the baseball team, and she starts experimenting with makeup. But by 8th grade, she goes full supermodel and prefers to be called Elizabeth. Now, I would have loved these books if they were available when I was a kid because they were about tomboys. But conversion to femininity is the major theme. Trade in your jersey for a prom dress, and you'll live happily ever after. Now, you can say these are just innocent coming-of-age stories, something that we all endure. But why is it that the tomboy always has to transform? None of the male characters transform in these schoolyard romances. And it's not just the fictional world where these lessons reside. I also read advice columns, and concerned parents would write in, concerned about their tomboy daughters. And even the most progressive therapists would reply, "Don't worry about it. She'll grow out of it. It's just a phase." This phase theme really hit home a few months ago. I'm teaching a course for college seniors called Gender and Rhetoric. And early in the semester, students had to present a gender collage, which was essentially a slideshow about some of the influences in their life. So I saw the toys they loved, the movies they watched on repeat, the TV characters they're identified with. And nearly every woman during the course of this short presentation casually mentioned, and this was my tomboy phase, as though being confident and carefree was something they tried on for a few years. So what happens if a tomboy challenges her expiration date? Call it what you want, tomboy style or tomboy chic. Until recently, you would never put the word tomboy and fashion in the same sentence. It was an oxymoron. The whole point of being a tomboy was resisting feminine norms, whether that was in your clothing, your hairstyle, or your attitude. But peruse the latest fashion magazines and blogs, and tomboy chic is the latest craze. And in case you're confused, tomboy style is not about empowering women to be more carefree about their appearance. No, it's not about adding a little butch to your wardrobe. It's about taking masculine style and sexing it up. Add a tie, the magazine suggests, or a vest, but supplement with smoky eyeliners and deep red lips. Show off your legs. Emphasize your femininity. Or there are the qualifiers. Pretty tomboy, delicate tomboy, sexy tomboy, anything that tempers that rebellious history. So tomboys these days are defined by more style than substance. Women can be sporty, but they have to be sexy too. I mean, we all know men love a woman who can throw a football, especially if she's in heels or a bikini. I learned that by watching The Bachelor, so you know it's absolutely true. The boyfriend fit is another way that women can try on masculinity as style. And I am actually wearing the boyfriend blazer. I don't have a boyfriend, so I don't know if I'm technically allowed to wear this. I have a wife, but they don't make a wife blazer. So the truth is the gendered clothing swap only operates in a single direction. Why don't they make girlfriend style for guys? It's the same logic that makes sissy an insult in our culture. So it might seem radical that tomboys are trendy now. What's at stake in this newfound popularity? Tomboy as style takes an enduring figure of gender rebellion and turns her into a sexualized fashion statement about conformity. So what do we lose when the tomboy is no longer a gender rebel, but a fashion rebel? We lose an appreciation for a century of progress. Tomboys have been trailblazers. They wanted to wear pants. They wanted to get an education. They wanted to have a voice. They wanted to vote. They wanted to play sports. Tomboys were instrumental in carving the path that a lot of women and girls enjoy today. So what can we do to make sure that the rebellious spirit of the tomboy does not expire? I think we need to be wary of tomboy chic and recognize it as the commodification of rebellion in service of the male gaze. And there are some really cool brands that are about empowering women and who are unapologetically feminist and give back to the community. Brands like Wildfang, which is actually the German word for tomboy. And I think we need to be aware of how we unknowingly limit the potential of our kids. As soon as they're born, we cast them in a gendered performance. We provide a script, pink and blue costumes, elaborate sets and props. We need to encourage our kids, our daughters and our sons to tell their own stories, to go off script. I know for me, I'm going to provide a script for my daughter where adventure and authenticity are driving the plot. And I will make sure that she knows that the strong, confident little girl she is today does not have an expiration date. Thank you.